very high profile thought leaders, thinkers, creativists, Nobel laureates, etc., etc. If you look at their lifestyles, they have not been very high rankers. In fact, they have been often school dropouts. On the other hand, in spite of dropping out from schools or in spite of not being high rankers in the schools or classes, some of these people have gone on to achieving incredible things, which have done paradigm shifting, which have brought in new thoughts, new discoveries. Then the question arises, how come some of these people who have achieved paradigm shifting ideas have not really been the products of construct of education called structured education? How come? Most of them, if you look at their lifestyles carefully, most of them are self-driven. They have acquired things on their own, in their own methods. They have studied at home, they have studied in the libraries, they have thought about them, they have discussed, but not big achievers in the classrooms. So that suggests that there are multiple ways of going ahead in knowledge acquiring process and knowledge imbibing process. It is not necessary to be within the box of what is called education or universities or colleges or in institutes. It is possible to be outside the box and still achieve big ideas. Many Nobel laureates' lifestyles are an indication of that, if one carefully studies them. They are driven on their own, essentially. They are somehow triggered by one or two very passionate teachers. They have gone on to asking very important questions on their own, not provoked in the classrooms. So therefore, we must all realize that essentially we win when we implement ideas wherever they come from. They may come inside the classroom, they may come outside the classroom, they may come in discussions, they may come while reading a book, they may come while dreaming about a question. The issue is, do we have the ability to follow all these multiple avenues one way or the other and get to this field called ideations, discoveries, thinking of new things, thinking of innovative things, etc., etc. That is the real challenge. If we have an education system that makes us creative, that imparts us not content, but skills and knowledge, that gives not information, but confidence, that gives not just the confidence, but creativity, then of course we are setting up an ecosystem where we are generating people who are truly educated. Otherwise, we would be part of a system where we would not be generating truly educated people, but merely degree holders. This distinction is becoming very sharp these days. In countries such as India, which is so highly populous, we have large number of people who are going through education system, but very few people who are highly skilled or who are even marginally skilled. There are plenty of jobs available for highly skilled people, but there are plenty of people who are unemployed because they do not have the required level of skills. However, they have large number of degrees. This essentially suggests that we have been part of a system where we are merely driving ourselves towards acquiring degrees, one way or the other. This process of acquiring too many degrees too quickly, too hastily, has generated a lot of disruption in the society. As university systems, as institute systems, as colleges, we have not done that well in generating products who ask important questions about fundamental nature of problem that we are facing today. As a nation, we have not been able to solve clean water problem. We have not been able to solve clean air problem. We have not been able to solve storing the produce, agricultural produce very safely. We have not been able to solve this problem of unhygiene. We have not been able to solve this problem of malnutrition. Most of these problems essentially are addressed by individuals. Of course, the system has to address, but individuals have to contribute very productively in this process. Even after 7 decades of our freedom, we as a nation have not been able to solve some of these fundamental problems as satisfactorily as we should have. Why do I say that? Because intrinsically we are a surplus talent country. Intrinsically we are driven towards learning new things. All our families emphasize on acquiring new knowledge, education, studies. We are a knowledge-thirsty society. We are also surplus talent country. How come we have not been able to solve very basic problem that our society faces even today? So some of these questions are really mind-boggling, are really stirring us up. Now, much more than in the past, because we are at a stage where country is producing very deeply aspirational young minds. They want to compete and win the race. Very large number of aspirational minds are coming up in our society. They are bright, they are very good, they want to work hard. Have we set up a platform where they will work hard and succeed? Do we have a model in our country where they can do deep learning and solve problems? Again, the answer is a mixed bag. Now, at the doorstep of our system is this new education policy, NEP 2020. All of us have studied the documents. We have understood the documents. There is a lot of details in the documents. And my own reading of the documents summarizes the following point that I am going to tell you now. As I mentioned in the past, in this lecture, that we have been a captive audience of an education system called enclosed box, where certain things have not fulfilled our aspirations. In the new education policy, NEP 2020, this box called education system has become porous. Why do I say so? I say so because in this education system, there are 4 important hallmarks. One is this is highly student-centric. It is essentially driven towards the interests of the student, where the student can join a course, sign up for a course, acquire knowledge, acquire credits, store the credits in a bank, what is called academic bank of credits, acquire additional credits by choosing whatever course he or she wants to learn. This is a choice-based system. So that means there is a lot of flexibility and freedom given to the student in terms of what he or she wants to learn. Unlike in the past, if I am a biology student, I hardly get opportunity to learn mathematics and physics at advanced stages in the past. Now that particular barrier is gone. Even if I am a biology student, even if I'm a medicine student, if I'm interested in learning enough physics, if I'm interested in learning enough statistics, I can go and sign up for a course in advanced statistics and mathematics. If I'm able to manage, I will manage. That flexibility is there. While doing mathematics and statistics and medicine, if I'm interested in music, which sometimes I will be interested, I can go and sign up and learn. That flexibility is there. So we have now generated in NEP 2020 a more porous system where the student can move from one compartment to the other compartment, essentially driven by one's own passion and interests. This ability to acquire knowledge in the areas that the student wants and move on with it is an important flexibility that NEP 2020 provides. Therefore, from a highly compartmentalized box that we had earlier, now we have gone towards less compartmentalized or more porous compartmentalized box. This, I think, is a game changer. This is a very important realization that our system has caught on to after several decades of compartmentalized education. In the compartmentalized education, we have generated silos called medical practitioners, medical doctors, engineers, or educationists, or chartered accountants who do not have other skills. We have essentially generated silos. Now in the new education policies, there may be silos, but there may also be interconnecting bridges between silos, which is very important. Human mind is not simply a linearly driven thinking machine. Human mind is a three-dimensional, randomly walking system. If the mind is not lost, is acquiring knowledge passionately, mind can acquire many things and integrate many things. That's the nature of the design of the mind. So therefore, mind has to be put through a three-dimensional process rather than a linear process. And NEP 2020 offers that opportunity to keep the mind wandering in three-dimensional system, acquiring whatever skills and knowledge that particular mind craves for. This, I find, is a big shift in the paradigm. At least at a conceptual level, this is a big shift. And if we do this NEP 2020 very well, what do we achieve? We probably will achieve students who are broad, well-rounded, who are not just ultra specialists, who have certain skills in not only what they specialize in, but also additional skills that satisfies their inner, craving. Probably they become a little bit more learned citizens. Probably they develop certain level of sensitivity. They probably will become a little bit more morally strong. And these important changes would be at a larger scale a game changer for the society if NEP 2020 really gives rise to these benefits. We need a society where individuals are driven by their passion, not by peer pressures, not by parental or other peer interventions. We need to generate society, students, children who want to know certain things because they want to know, not because my parents want me to know. Parental supervision is important, but parental intervention is not important. So therefore, my important take home for myself as well as my friends here is to understand the basic spirit of NEP 2020 and move on with its real implementation very well. The devil is in the details. All looks good on paper in terms of all these very nice benefits that I just mentioned. However, if we are not able to implement this program very well, implement NEP 2020 very well, then there are other problems that may crop up. There is so much of flexibility in the system that the student can acquire credits, can put the credits in an account, can go and do some work somewhere else for about several years, up to 7 years, one can take an exit, come back and continue education. So there is this possibility of going out of education, come back into education, etc., etc. In principle, that's a good idea, but in practice, do we have an apparatus to make sure that these things happen very well? Do we have a mechanism where all the institutes in the country function in sync so that all these things can become cohesively integrated? So that if I am a student, I get credits from University A, go to University B, acquire additional credits, go to University C, more credits. And at the end, if all these universities A, B, C are not functioning in sync with one another, then there will be a disjointed situation. So we as a country must align towards time curriculum, towards syllabus curriculum, towards programs, so that it becomes students friendly in terms of mobility from one institute to the other institute to the other institute. Currently, different institutes have different kinds of curricula. The timetables are very different in different universities. They are not in sync. Largely, they are out of sync. If this is the level of asynchrony we have, then obviously NEP 2020 objectives cannot be met. Therefore, it requires that all the institutes in the country, whatever flavor they belong to, must align towards common entrance tests, must align towards common timetables. Of course, they can enjoy tremendous autonomy in terms of curriculum contents. Each institute must develop very competitively interesting curriculum content so that students can actually flock to your institute much more preferentially compared to other institutes. So you see that there is autonomy in terms of designing curriculum, in terms of designing courses, in terms of navigating the details of the curriculum, etc., etc. But we must all align in terms of timetables, in terms of course structures, etc. Then a student becomes highly mobile from one institute to the other institute to the third institute, etc., etc. So as a country, we get integrated towards this one interesting program called NEP 2020. Second important challenge is, do we have teachers who can well in these innovative programs? As of now, the answer is probably no. Most of our teachers are well trained in traditional subjects. The call of the hour in NEP 2020 is to design courses which are multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary, innovative courses. Do we have the wherewithal to design these? Do we have sufficient books in these different types of interdisciplinary programs? Do we have teachers who can actually teach in a manner that is interdisciplinary in its spirit? If you ask some of these questions, the answers would be no, we don't. So therefore, teachers training becomes a very important facet of NEP 2020. We have not done very well in teachers training programs in the past. In fact, some of the teachers training programs are abysmally bad, because of which we have not been able to generate good quality teachers. And eventually, if we do not have good quality teachers, we will obviously not have good quality students. Therefore, training teachers' minds in line with NEP 2020 is an important first step that we must take. Universities have a special role in this, state as well as central, towards designing curricula that train the teachers. Teachers at the primary school level, teachers at the high school level, teachers at the junior college level, etc., etc. This has to be done very well. Unless we have a team of dedicated, passionate teachers in the country, NEP 2020 is not going to succeed. So you can see that there are tremendous challenges, but there are also tremendous opportunities. If we do this very well, we as a nation will hit high points in the global platforms. Because we are such a surplus talent country, our students will become such innovators. They go in such high demand that they can go anywhere in the world and go a mark. Country would become competitively very, very strong. And this kind of upbringing where we are focusing on minds and skills, not on the content alone. If it starts from primary school level, high school level, college level, you will see that our products will be of a very different type. There will be a sea change in the quality of our products. And we need this sea change in our products. If we do not bring up this sea change in our students, in our products, we would obviously miss the bus. On many occasions, we have missed the bus in the global race. Therefore, while summarizing, I emphasize on 2 or 3 important points. And these important points are well appreciated in the system, but not well practiced. And those points are: strongly emphasize on conceptual learning at the primary school level, at the high school level, at college level, so that students ask questions. They acquire knowledge by asking questions, by seeking answers, not by rote learning. A fundamental change is required. Then the second fundamental change that we need to do is to generate highly passionate teachers. Teachers who can not only teach, but trigger minds. In our childhood days, we used to have such teachers. We are what we are because of such teachers. Perhaps as a percentage contribution, that number has come down now. We need to design systems at the university level. We teach teachers very well, train teachers very well. Third, the most important point is the public system should invest fair amount of resources for education and research. Any society that fails to do that is doomed to fail. Our governments, our private players must invest in education and research. We are a large country. We are a resource constrained country. Therefore, we need to pump in additional resources, both at state government level, central government level, at private level. We need to infuse a lot more resources. Not enough resources are being invested in our education system as of now. Unless the resources are pumped in, unless better infrastructure is put in place, we will not be able to achieve NEP 2020 that we need to achieve the way we need to achieve. Fourth important point is this aspect of learning things in an open-minded fashion where our skills are multidimensional, multidisciplinary. We do not become ultra specialists. We become thinking minds rather than regurgitating minds. So if NEP 2020 brings in these 3-4 fundamental changes in our system, and we as stakeholders become vehicles in the transformation, I think there is bright future for the country. And I think on this particular day, we must internalize the importance of these points. And we must convey to our students that that these points have to be realized by us. Unless we do that, the future does not belong to us. For us to capture the future, we need to capture today in the right spirit. So these are the points that I wanted to convey on this important day, National Education Day. And I will once again thank the host there in the University of Yogi Vemana University for giving me this opportunity. I did not want to give a long speech. I did not want to share with you monotonously looking slides. I just wanted to share with you some of my ideas, which I just did. And all these ideas are not coming from prepared text. They are all spontaneous ideas that I'm sharing with you. And in that sense, my ideas are genuinely felt ideas. And I hope my friends, my students, take note of some of these ideas and march ahead. Thank you very much. Namaste.
Sir, very humbly, thank you. At the same time, sorry for some of the technical issues for starting this keynote lecture, because as I informed you that here is a heavy rain pouring and everywhere water is water and power problems and all these things. Despite of that, I enjoyed your keynote lecture. What I have perceived myself is you have defined the education and how it was structured in India and how this NEP will bring the changes and what should we do to implement it effectively. And most probably all as the academicians who have seen the changes with the governments, especially central government, and the meager funding. We speak so much about the investment, money and all these things. We are not supporting the proper budget to either to the academics and the research. Everyone is experiencing this. So the policy makers like you must inform in the policy making body to support this research. And the education, even state government, they cut down budget for the education. They only focus on scholarships and fellowship programs. There is no money to run the universities. If you would want to propose any change, the change is inevitable to everyone. But without money, there is no change nowadays. So thank you so much, sir. If any questions from the audience, sir is happy to answer. So this NED is for everyone, it is the $10. Nobody would like to vote it, especially from the state universities. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. I have another meeting to attend now. I'll sign off now. Thank you very much. All the best to all of you.
Thank you, sir. Now I invite Professor Surya Gavati Madam to come out to the dais and Dr. Vijay Prasad, Professor P. Jaramanti Shankar, and Professor P. So now it is a time to us to listen our messages from our students. So I saw my friend Ram Prasad Reddy is a keep on waiting. I don't know whether he was started here or he was already started from the room and he was writing. Sir, now I request Madam Vice Chancellor to give a message.
So good morning, all of you. I'm wishing you all a very happy National Education Day. So this day remembers the exemplary contribution of Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad to the field of education and institution that paved the way for the country modern system. So on 11th September 2008, the Ministry of Human Resource Development declared the birth anniversary of Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad to be nationally recognized as Education Day. So most of the things that are covered by already BJ sir. So National Education Day reminds us all that we must never ever let a child stay deprived of education. When you educated child, you change not just his present, all his life for good. That's what I actually want to say. So, and the education is the passport to the future, for the tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today. So already details are explained in NEP and its importance. Already NEP wants to go in a near future, want to adopt NEP 2020. And the thing is, here the synchronization, as already sir mentioned, the synchronization of all the universities and central universities, state funded universities, and IITs, ISCs, and all these things. The synchronization of the schedule, time schedule, and almost the syllabus also. To synchronize all these things, then adopting NEP 2020 is very easy, otherwise it's very difficult. That's what, in my opinion. So thank you for giving me this opportunity.
So our registrar is very eager to speak. అంత పారిపోతే ఎట్లయ్యా? ఎంత అడ్మినిస్ట్రేటర్ అయినా కొంచెం అకాడమిక్స్ గురించి చెప్పు.
You all have to excuse me, sorry, because I asked our AR Shivari to attend the meeting on behalf, but those people are insisting on the registrar should come and address their plans. However, this is such an important day, I cannot just bluff something and get away from this place. National Education Day is for us. People in the higher offices perhaps don't understand the importance of this day. Vijay Rao sir is perhaps one person who has bravely put forward many of the queries that are lingering in our mind about how to move forward with this national education policy. NEP 20, I think after GST, this is another Brahmapadam, which I don't think we ever understand. Today also I don't understand how these GST things, how these petrol prices, how this gold, we don't know. We are just supposed to take, the brunt of the situation. However, we all have to, not very many universities at this point are geared up to take up or implement NEP, to my understanding also, which he has correctly said. I think it will take a lot of thinking, these kind of brains to come here and educate us. We have to also perform several workshops and how to make this flexibility. A lot of flexibility is a lot of disorder also for a country like India. So, however, we have to appreciate the effort of government of India and accept this in some fashion. I actually want to congratulate honestly Dr. Khan for bringing such an eminent scholar to speak about this. That is truly incredible achievement to my understanding. I congratulate also the Urdu department for holding this meeting here. And with VC Madam and Principal Madam for permitting us to do this function in such a way. Thank you very much. Please kindly excuse me, I'm leaving this.
Very heartfelt words from Sridhar. Sorry, but Madam Vice Chancellor, as we know that very soft-spoken administrator and has given us two excellent words screening person. There are so many issues with education, but there are so many problems also with education. The least priority for all the governments. Least priority. The reason is wherever you want to invest the money, you always have the least priority. Wherever you get the money, you will have the highest priority. Education is such an area will have always the least priority. And now I request Professor P. Chandramani Shankar, in charge of Vice Chancellor, to give her message. In charge, sorry. I am sorry because maybe I don't know, sorry. In charge principal of Yogi University College.
Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor M. Surya Kalavati Madam, respected Registrar Professor Vijay Ramaprasad Sir, esteemed invited speaker, guests, faculty member, participants, press and electronic media, a very good morning. Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad was an educationist, freedom fighter, politician and journalist. He has donned many hats in his more than 4-decade-long public life. An intellectual par excellence, he left behind a lasting legacy in the field of India's education. As India's first Minister of Education, he emphasized on educating the rural, poor and girls. As chairman of Central Advisory Board of Education, he gave thrust to adult literacy. Universal primary education free and compulsory for all children up to the age of 14. Girls' education and diversification of secondary education and vocational training were some of the things which he has encouraged. Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad emphasized, we must not for a moment forget, it is a birthright of every individual to receive at least the basic education, without which he cannot fully discharge his duties as a citizen. Under Maulana Azad's tenure, a number of measures were undertaken to promote primary and secondary scientific education, establishment of universities, and promotion of avenues of research and higher studies. Under his leadership, the Ministry of Education established the first Indian Institute of Technology in 1951 and University Grant Commission in 1953. Jamia Millia Islamia University in Delhi. He also laid emphasis on the development of Indian Institute of Science in Bangalore and the Faculty of Technology of Delhi University. He foresaw a great future in IITs of India. He said, I have no doubt that the establishment of this institute will form a landmark in the progress of higher technological education and research in the country. At all times, education remained an important and passionate issue for Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad. And hence, it was very befitting that the government of India has marked his birthday today as National Education Day. All of us should try to protect, preserve, and nourish his legacy on education. We should make the country strong. I congratulate the Department of Urdu and convener and in-charge head of Urdu Department, Professor Shah Ali Khan sir, and his whole team for organizing the event today to pay tribute to a very great educationist of India in a very befitting way. Thank you.
Thank you, madam, for highlighting the contribution of Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad to education and literacy. And then thank you for giving us credit for our nations. Now I request Professor T. Ramaprasad Reddy, Dean Faculty of Arts and Humanities, for some words. Jagrata Maatladala custom. He is also Dean Faculty of Education. Is there anything left? There is anything left? He is library in charge. There is anything left?
అందరికీ నమస్కారం. ఈరోజు మనం మౌలానా అబ్దుల్ కలాం ఆజాద్ బర్త్డే సందర్భంగా నేషనల్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ డే జరుపుకుంటున్నాం మన విశ్వవిద్యాలయంలో. సందర్భంగా అందరికీ శుభాకాంక్షలు. మన ఇండియన్ గవర్నమెంట్లో ఎడ్యుకేషన్ మినిస్టర్గా పనిచేసినటువంటి ఒక వ్యక్తి, మహానుభావుడు, వీరి పేర్ల మనం ఈరోజు ఈ దినోత్సవాలు జరుపుకుంటున్నాం. అసలు ఎందుకు జరుపుకోవాలి వారి పేరుతో? ఎంతోమంది యూనియన్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ మినిస్టర్స్గా, ఉమెన్ రిసోర్స్ మినిస్టర్స్గా పనిచేస్తున్నారు. మరి వీరిలో ఉన్నటువంటి ప్రత్యేకత ఏమిటి, ఎందుకు జరుపుకోవాలి? అంటే మనకు తెలిసి వచ్చింది ఏంటంటే, ఇండియన్ గవర్నమెంట్లో కానీ, కేంద్ర ప్రభుత్వంలో కానీ, రాష్ట్ర ప్రభుత్వంలో కానీ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ మినిస్టర్లుగా ఎవరు పనిచేస్తున్నారనే విషయం చాలా మంది ప్రజలకు తెలియనండి. వాళ్ళ యొక్క ప్రభావం ఎంత ఉంది విద్య పైన, విద్యా వ్యవస్థ పైన అనేది వాళ్ళు గుర్తు చేస్తుంది. చాలా మంది యూనియన్ మినిస్టర్స్ గా పనిచేశారు. ఇప్పుడు ఎవరు చేస్తున్నారో కూడా చాలా మందికి తెలియదు. యూనివర్సిటీస్ లో విద్యను అభ్యసిస్తున్నటువంటి మనకు, బోధన చేస్తున్నటువంటి మనకే తెలియదు ఎవరు ఎడ్యుకేషన్ మినిస్టర్ అంటే. కొద్దిసేపు ఆలోచించుకోవాలి. మరి ఎప్పుడో మొట్టమొదటి విద్యామంత్రిగా పనిచేసినటువంటి ఆయన్ను మనం ఈరోజు గుర్తు చేసుకుంటూ ఈ కార్యక్రమాన్ని నిర్వహించాం. ఆయనలో ఉన్నటువంటి ప్రత్యేకత ఏమిటి? విద్యా వ్యవస్థలో 11 సంవత్సరాలు సుదీర్ఘంగా విద్యాశాఖ మంత్రిగా పనిచేసినటువంటి వ్యక్తి ఎటువంటి ప్రభావం చూపాడు, ఎటువంటి మార్పులు తీసుకొచ్చాడు? ఎడ్యుకేషన్ అంటే ఆల్రౌండ్ డెవలప్మెంట్. దీనికి కారణం ఈయన నేషనల్ మూవ్మెంట్లో జాయిన్ అయినాడు. ఈ ఫాలోడ్ గాంధీజీ basic education. Gandhi's principle is the basic education. Basic education means 3 heads. Education to head, education to heart, education to hand. Hand means occasional education. ఈ బేసిక్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ ప్రిన్సిపల్స్ లో మనం చదువుకున్నటువంటి విద్య మన ఉపాధికి పనికొచ్చే విధంగా ఉండాలి అని దాని మీద కేంద్రీకృతమైనటువంటి గాంధీజీ ప్రిన్సిపల్ను వంట పట్టించుకుంటాడు. ఇంకోటి ఏంటంటే క్వాలిటీ, క్వాంటిటీ అండ్ అడ్వాన్స్మెంట్ ఆఫ్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్. ఈ 3 విషయాలపైన బాగా స్ట్రెచ్ చేసి చక్కటి పరిశోధన చేశారు. క్వాలిటీని పక్కన పెడతాం. మొట్టమొదట క్వాంటిటీ గురించి మాట్లాడతాం. అంటే బ్రిటిష్ కాలంలో సమరయోధులు కాబట్టి నిర్లక్ష్యం చేయబడినటువంటి విద్యా వ్యవస్థల గురించి ఈయనకు అవగాహన ఉంది కనుక మొట్టమొదట లిటరసీని డెవలప్ చేయాలి. లిటరసీ పర్సెంటేజ్ డెవలప్ చేయడంలో ఇది క్వాంటిటీకి సంబంధించింది. అంటే విద్యా వ్యవస్థను ఎంత పటిష్టం చేసినా చదువుకునే వాళ్ళు లేకపోతే దాని ఉపయోగం ఉండదు. కాబట్టి నిర్బంధ ప్రాథమిక విద్య, కంపల్సరీ ప్రైమరీ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ అనే దాన్ని ప్రవేశపెట్టాలి భారతదేశంలో అని చెప్పి మొట్టమొదటి ఆలోచించినటువంటి వ్యక్తి మౌలానా అబ్దుల్ కలాం ఆజాద్. అనేక కమిషన్లు స్థాపించాడు. ఇంకా క్వాంటిటీకి వచ్చేటప్పటికీ గుణాత్మక విద్య, క్వాలిటీ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ అని చెప్పి ఈరోజు మనం నేషనల్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ పాలసీలో మాట్లాడుకుంటున్నాం 70 ఏళ్ళ తర్వాత. ఈ ఆలోచన, ఈ ముందు చూపు ఆయనకు చాలా సంవత్సరాల ముందు, 7 శతాబ్దాల ముందే వచ్చి, అందువలన మనం ఆయన బర్త్డేని నేషనల్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ డేగా మాట్లాడుకుంటున్నాం. తర్వాత అడ్వాన్స్మెంట్ అనే దగ్గరికి వచ్చినప్పటికీ అనేక నేషనల్ ఇన్స్టిట్యూషన్ స్థాపించాడు. ఇందాక చెప్పుకున్నాను. యూజీసీ, ఐసీఆర్, సిఐఎన్ఆర్ లాంటి ప్రతిష్టాత్మకమైనటువంటి సంస్థలను స్థాపించడమే కాకుండా ఖరగ్పూర్లో టెక్నికల్ యూనివర్సిటీని, అలాగే ఈనాటి ఐఐటీలకు ఆద్యుడు. ఎందుకు అంటే గాంధీజీ వొకేషనల్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్, బేసిక్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ ప్రిన్సిపల్ను గాంధీ ఫాలో అయ్యారు కాబట్టి దాని మీద ఆయన ఎక్కువ పనిచేశాడు. చదువుకున్నటువంటి విద్యార్థులకు ఉపాధికి పనికొచ్చే విధంగా ఎడ్యుకేషన్ టు హ్యాండ్ అన్న, బయటికి వస్తూనే అలాగే చదువుకుంటూనే సంపాదించాలి. లెర్న్ వైల్ హ్యార్న్ అని చెప్పి మనం ఈరోజు మాట్లాడుతున్నాం. ఇటువంటి ప్రిన్సిపల్లకు ఆద్యుడు మౌలానా అబ్దుల్ కలాం ఆచార్య. అలాగే ఇందాక విజయరావు గారు, అలాగే మన డీన్ అకాడమిక్ అఫైర్స్ చెప్పారు, విద్య ధనం సంపాదించేది అయి ఉండకూడదు అని. ధన సంపాదన కోసం విద్య కాదు, విద్య నిగూఢ గుప్తము అన్నది. విద్య ధనము ఒక ట్రస్ట్, ఒక ట్రెజర్ అది. విదేశీ బంధువుడు అన్నాడు, అంటే విదేశాల్లో వెళ్ళినప్పుడు కూడా మనకు బంధువులాగా తోడ్పడుతుంది. విద్య నేర్చుకుంటే మనకు ఉపాధికి కరువు ఉండదు అని చెప్పి మహానుభావులు ఆ విద్య గురించి ఒక పద్యంలో చెప్పారు. కాబట్టి విద్యాధనం అనేది ఈ భౌతికమైనటువంటి మామూలు ధనంతో పోల్చడానికి సరైనది కాదు, పోలికే లేదు దానికి. ధనం ఈరోజు మనం కూడబెట్టుకున్నటువంటి ధనం మనకు ఉపయోగపడకపోవచ్చు, కానీ మనం సంపాదించుకున్నటువంటి విద్య మనకు జీవితాంతం ఉపయోగపడుతుంది, తోడంటూ ఉంటుంది, వెన్నంటి ఉంటుంది, మనల్ని ముందుకు తీసుకెళ్తుంది, మనల్ని జ్ఞాన మార్గంలో నడిపిస్తుంది అని చెప్పి మహానుభావులు చెప్పినట్టుగా ఈ సూత్రాలన్నిటినీ వంట పట్టించుకొని వారు భారతదేశంలో విద్యా వ్యవస్థ సమూలమైనటువంటి మార్పుకు శ్రీకారం చుట్టారు. దాని ప్రభావమే ఈరోజు ఇంతమంది చదువుకుంటున్నారు, ఇంతమంది ఉపాధి సంపాదించుకుంటున్నారు, విదేశాలకు వెళ్ళి కూడా ఉద్యోగాలు చేస్తున్నారు, స్వదేశంలో కూడా హాయిగా బతుకున్నారు. ఇన్ని జాతీయ సంస్థలు, ఇన్ని విశ్వవిద్యాలయాలు, విద్యా వ్యవస్థలో గుణాత్మకమైనటువంటి మార్పుకు వీటన్నిటిని పక్కన పెట్టి ఆల్రౌండ్ డెవలప్మెంట్ అనే అంశంలోకి తీసుకుంటే వీరు విద్యతో పాటు కళలను అభివృద్ధి చేయాలని చెప్పి ఆయన సాహిత్య అకాడమీ ఏర్పాటు చేశాడు, కళలకు సంబంధించినటువంటి అకాడమీ ఏర్పాటు చేశాడు, సంగీత నాట్య అకాడమీని కూడా ఏర్పాటు బాధ్యుడు. కాబట్టి ఎన్ని రకాల మార్పులకు శ్రీకారం చుట్టి వాటిని ప్రారంభించి ఎంతో కృషి చేశాడు. కాబట్టి 11 సంవత్సరాలు నేను విద్యాశాఖ మంత్రిగా ఉంచడం జరిగింది. ఆయన నాకు తెలిసి చివరి వాడు, ఇన్ని సంవత్సరాలు సుదీర్ఘంగా పనిచేసేటువంటి విద్యాశాఖ మంత్రి. మళ్ళీ ఎవరికి ఇటువంటి అవకాశం రాదని చెప్పి నా ప్రకారం నమ్మకం. ఇంకొకటి, విద్యాశాఖ మంత్రిగా గుర్తుపెట్టుకోవాల్సినటువంటి ఏకైక వ్యక్తి, చిట్ట చివరి వ్యక్తి కూడా వీరే అని చెప్పి నా విశ్వాసం. కాబట్టి నాకు ఇక్కడ మాట్లాడడానికి ఈ సుదినం ఒక గొప్ప వ్యక్తి గురించి స్మరించుకోవడానికి అవకాశం ఇచ్చినటువంటి ఉర్దూ శాఖకు, ఈ కార్యక్రమాన్ని నిర్వహించుకోవడానికి అవకాశం ఇచ్చినటువంటి మన విశ్వవిద్యాలయ వైస్ ఛాన్సలర్ ఆచార్య మునగాల సూర్యకళావతి గారికి, ఈ వేదిక మీద మాతో పాటు వేదికను పంచుకున్నటువంటి రిజిస్ట్రార్ ఆచార్య విజయరాఘవ ప్రసాద్, అలాగే మన విశ్వవిద్యాలయ కళాశాల ప్రిన్సిపల్ చంద్రమతి శంకర్ గారికి, ఈ కార్యక్రమానికి హాజరైనటువంటి వివిధ శాఖల అధ్యాపకులకు, పరిశోధక విద్యార్థులకు, విద్యార్థులకు అందరికీ నమస్కారం, సెలవు.
Thank you, sir. Sir, for the nice analysis. Now I request any faculty member to have any message. ఎవరైనా ఫ్యాకల్టీ గురించి ఏమన్నా మాట్లాడాలి, ఫ్యాకల్టీ గురించి ఏమన్నా మాట్లాడాలి, either from the students or academic consultants.
Respected Vice Chancellor, jury members, professors, Department of Urdu, and my dear classmates or meeting mates. Good morning to everyone. This is Khalil Nisa from Chemistry Department. Today we are gathered here for celebrating a beautiful personality, not only from Gulf country. What was the reason he came from Mecca to India? Why he was providing the scholarship regarding to MPhil or PhD, Maulana Azad scholarship, fellowship programs, and also the scholarship to 11th or 12th standard students. Have you find anything reason between this? So that's why we should have to find, even if he has died, his soul is living with us. We should have to thankful to society. And also this beautiful person, that is Maulana Abul Kalam Azad. Now, in our university, Yogi Vemana University, it is an empire. In this empire, we have a queen, that is Surya Kalavati Garu. I request her on this beautiful education day. I want a little message from her how she was journeying from her little childhood to become a vice chancellor. I need her precious 5 minutes to share her success to this seat. Thank you, madam. I want your journey. What did you? Somebody has to. Can you told us? Current Martin. We're really happy finding a woman. Thank you, ma. సో నేను మీ అందరిలో ఒక స్టూడెంట్. నాకు చదివేటప్పుడు అయితే అంత ఆస్పిరేషన్స్ ఏం లేవు. నేను అనుకున్నది ఏంటంటే ఏదైనా వర్క్ లో చిన్నప్పటి నుంచి కూడా చేసే వర్క్ లో డెడికేటెడ్ గా చేయడం. సో నాకు ప్యాషన్ చదవడం అనేది నాకు చాలా ప్యాషన్ నిజంగానే. ఇప్పుడు కూడా వేరే బుక్స్ అందరూ చదువుతుంటారు కానీ నాకు నేను గుడ్ ఆరేటర్ కూడా కాదు. ఎందుకంటే నాకు ఎప్పుడు బుక్స్ వేరే బుక్స్ చదవడం అంటూ ఎప్పుడు నా టెక్నికల్ బుక్స్. సో ఆమె ఎలక్ట్రికల్ ఇంజనీర్. సో ఆ బుక్స్ చదవడం అండ్ మాక్సిమం నేను నా స్టూడెంట్స్ తోనే స్పెండ్ చేస్తా. ద స్ట్రెంగ్త్ ఆఫ్ మైండ్ ఈస్ మై స్టూడెంట్స్. నాకు నా స్టూడెంట్స్ నా స్ట్రెంగ్త్. ఇప్పుడు కూడా నా స్టూడెంట్స్ మా పిల్లలు ఎలా అనుకుంటారో మీరందరూ కూడా మా పిల్లలే. సో నేను మా పిల్లలకి ఏమైనా కావాలనుకుంటున్నారో నేను చదువుకునే డేస్ అయినా నా ఫ్రెండ్స్ కి అదర్వైజ్ నేను టీచింగ్ ప్రొఫెషన్ లో ఉన్నప్పుడు కూడా నా స్టూడెంట్స్ నేను ఎప్పుడు ఎంకరేజ్ చేసేదాన్ని హైయర్ స్టడీస్ కి. సో వాళ్ళకి అడ్డం నేను అవైలబుల్ గా ఉండేటట్టు. అండ్ ద థింగ్ ఈజ్ వాళ్ళని నా పిల్లలు అనుకునేటట్టు. సో నా పిల్లలకి ఏదైనా ప్రాబ్లం ఫేస్ చేస్తే ఎట్లా ఉంటుంది అది ఆ పిల్లల్లో కూడా అలాంటి ప్రాబ్లం ఫేస్ చేస్తాను. 24 hours నేను నా స్టూడెంట్స్ కే హెల్ప్ చేస్తాను. సో దట్ ఈస్ ఓన్లీ మై స్ట్రెంగ్త్ టు బికమ్ వైస్ ఛాన్సలర్. థ్యాంక్ యూ. Thank you so much, madam. We really inspired from you that how women empowerment in the society. Now, I last conclude my message, that is, we are spending our 20 years to education. That is from childhood to adulthood, what it may be. What we are doing for our parents, our teachers, our professors. We should have to provide a message in the society, not only celebrating this National Education Day like that, or girls' education. We should have to provide a role model. We should have to take the live examples. That is, for example, for girls, that is our vice chancellor. Then you should have to focus. Education is the best weapon with which you can change the world. So that's why I request to my dear friends, if you want to get any kind of good deeds, if you find any poor people, those who want to go school, you should help them. You need not to pay the money. There are so many kinds of scholarship in there. In our state, Jagannath, Divana, Ammavati, like that. So I request you, you should have to pay attention to the society also. You become a good citizen. Thank you so much for giving me this golden opportunity. I'm really thankful to the department.
Very, as Professor Teacher has said, and we know everybody as a teacher, that our education is student-centered. Student-centered, for the purpose of student. Unfortunately, students class లో చెప్తే టీచర్లను క్వశ్చన్ చేయాలి. దట్ ఈస్ హిస్ మెసేజ్ ఆల్సో. Unless otherwise you question the class, you never question outside the class. If you never question in your life, there is no evolution of this perspective like this. And you should drag the opportunity as she has done. And she was involved, saying such beautiful words about our honorable vice chancellor. She's, as I said, that she's soft speaking and smart and very limited speaking woman. But she dragged her to speak something, and the heartfelt words she was expressed all the gratitude to given credit to her students. So as a teacher, we always look into the students. So any boy students would like to speak? Please.
Good afternoon to all. My name is Shraddhamma. I am from English department. I firstly thanks you giving this golden opportunity to talk about ప్రజెంట్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ సొసైటీ ఎలా ఉంది అనే దానికి నేను ఒక చిన్న స్టోరీని నెరేట్ చేయాలనుకుంటాను. ఎందుకంటే స్పీచ్ ఆల్రెడీ టీచర్ రావు గారు చెప్పారు, తర్వాత వైస్ ఛాన్సలర్ గారు, ఇంకా ఇక్కడ ఉన్న రిజిస్ట్రార్స్ అందరూ కూడా బాగా ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ చేశారు. సో ఇన్ మై పాయింట్ ఆఫ్ వ్యూ నేను ఎడ్యుకేషన్ అంటే ప్రజెంట్ స్టూడెంట్ వాళ్ళ థాట్స్ ఎలా ఉన్నాయని చెప్పి చెప్తాను. ఒక రాజు ఉన్నాడు, అతని దగ్గర ఒక చిలుక ఉంది. దానికి ఏం చేశాడంటే అతను చదువు చెప్పించాలనుకున్నాడు. అంటే సాహిత్యం కానీ చదువు కానీ చెప్పించాలని చెప్పేసి అనుకొని మొత్తం అంతా ధనాగారం నుంచి ట్రెజరీని అంతా తెప్పించేసి బాగా దానికి కావాల్సిన బుక్స్ కానీ లైబ్రరీ కానీ మెజర్మెంట్స్ తర్వాత ఎన్నో అఫీషియల్స్ ని అన్నిటిని కూడా ప్రొవైడ్ చేశాడు అనమాట. అన్నిటినీ ప్రొవైడ్ చేసి ఆ చిలుకకు చదువు చెప్పించడానికి అందరినీ కూడా అక్కడ ఫెసిలిటేట్ చేయడం జరిగింది. కానీ ఎవరు కూడా పట్టించుకోవట్లేదు అనమాట. అది చదువుతుందా లేదా, లేదంటే బాగుందా, అసలు ఎలాంటి పట్టించుకోలేదు. బట్ కానీ మెటీరియల్స్ కావాల్సిన అన్ని ప్రొవైడ్ అయితే చేశారనమాట. ఇలా కొన్ని రోజులు జరుగుతూ ఉంది. ధనాగారం నుంచి ట్రెజరీ అయిపోతూనే ఉందన్నమాట. బట్ అక్కడ ఆ చిలుక నేర్చుకుందా వాట్ ఇట్స్ లెర్న్ అనేది అక్కడ ఏం ఎవరు పట్టించుకోలేదు అనమాట. బట్ ఫైనల్లీ ఒకసారి ఏం జరిగిందంటే రాజుగారికి దాన్ని చెక్ చేయాలనిపించింది. ఇన్ని రోజులు నేను ఎంతో ఖర్చు పెట్టాను కదా, దానికోసం ఎంతో వెచ్చించాను కదా, సో దాని పాండిత్యాన్ని తెలుసుకోవాలన్న ఉద్దేశంతో రాజుగారు ఒకసారి సభ ఏర్పాటు చేసి దాన్ని తీసుకొని వచ్చారనమాట. తీసుకొని వచ్చినప్పుడు అప్పటికే అది చనిపోయింది. చనిపోయినప్పుడు అక్కడ ఉన్న ఒక మంత్రి ఉంటాడు కదా, అతను చెప్తాడనమాట, ఏంటి చిలుక ఎలా ఉంది, దాని సాహిత్యం ఎంతవరకు వచ్చింది, ఎంతవరకు నేర్చుకుంది అని చెప్పేసి చాలా క్వశ్చన్స్ వేసాడనమాట. అప్పుడు అది చెప్పిందనమాట, మంత్రి చెప్తున్నాడు, చిలుక అన్నం ఆహారం తీసుకోవట్లేదు, సరిగా ఉండట్లేదు అంటే, సరే ఉలకలేదు పలకలేదు ఏమైంది అని అంటే, ఏం లేదు అది చచ్చిపోయింది అన్నాడు. మరి చచ్చిపోతే ఎందుకు చెప్పలేదంటే, మీరేమన్నారు, నాకేమని చెప్పారు, చదువు చెప్పమని చెప్పారు, నేను చదువు చెప్పాను, అది బ్రతికి ఉందా చచ్చిందా అనేది నాకు సంబంధం లేని విషయము, సో కాబట్టి ఇది నాకు తెలియదు అని చెప్పి ఆ మంత్రి సమాధానం ఇచ్చాడు అనమాట. ఇది ఎందుకు చెప్పానంటే ప్రజెంట్ సొసైటీ అంటే సొసైటీ అని కాదు, ఇన్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ సిస్టమ్ ఇలా ఉందన్నమాట. సో స్టూడెంట్ ఎప్పుడు కూడా స్టూడెంట్ అనేవాడు జస్ట్ ఊరికే మెటీరియల్స్ ప్రొవైడ్ చేయడం, సబ్జెక్ట్ చెప్పడమే కాదు, బట్ కానీ స్టూడెంట్ అసలు అతను ఏం కోరుకున్నాడు, అతని ప్యాషన్ ఏంటి, అతను ఏమి చదవాలనుకున్నాడు, ఏం చేయాలనుకున్నాడు, సో మనం ప్రొవైడ్ చేసినవి అవి ఎంతవరకు యూటిలైజ్ చేసుకుంటున్నాడు అని చెప్పేసి మనం చూడాలి. అంతేగాని అన్ని ఇచ్చేసి నీ సావు నువ్వు సావు అంటే కొంచెం కష్టం. కష్టమే పడుతుంది. ప్రొఫెసర్స్ అందరికి ఒక మంచి సజెషన్, thank you giving this opportunity. Sorry my bad.
సత్యాన్ని ఒప్పుకోవాలని ఉన్న ధైర్యం ఉన్నది. We are all part of this. I'm very happy to see this, especially from the students. Very nice. Thank you. No, it should be accepted. Must be that this is one of the university with maximum freedom for everybody and the maximum women empowerment in this university. Not only you see the Honorable Vice Chancellor, we have one of the member faculty member, Professor Karma is executive council member, Professor Chandramati Shankar is the principal, principal, Professor Vasanthi is dean of faculty. All, for a simple example, to study the mathematics, many of us fear, or the parents have a fear over mathematics customer. But how will you understand this? This is the great ladies chosen mathematics stream and established. Anyway, there are a number of examples in this university with very good women empowerment. I appreciate. Now, Amish, Suresh, so they have some prize distribution for electrician competitions.
Good afternoon, dignitaries on the dais. Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor M. Surya Kalavati Garu. In the absence, Professor D. Vijay Raghav Prasad Garu, the Registrar. In charge Principal P. Chandramati Shankar Garu, and along with the other Dean and Faculty of Arts, Professor T. Ram Prasad Reddy Garu. Then the head of the Department Urdu, Professor P. S. Shawalikan Sir Garu, and the other